Alright, welcome to part 2. If you guys remember in part 1 we had this jet ski which had a crack in it somewhere around here. So we went ahead and fiberglass repaired that and just threw some paint on just so it looked good. We've taken this out a couple times on the lake and everything is waterproof. So now we're going to go ahead and walk you through the process of gel coating it. Alright, so to get ready to prep this for paint, we've taken the jet pump out as well as the ride plate and then the sponsons on the side. So now what we need to do is get this sticker off. So we're gonna go ahead and hit that with a heat gun and warm it up, and that's gonna break the glue loose, and then we'll get in there with a scraper and just peel it right off. Alright, so now that the sticker's removed, what we need to do is sand this entire thing down. And we don't have to sand it down to fiberglass. What we need to do is rough up the gel coat. We don't need to go all the way through it, but we do need a nice, clean, smooth surface. So once we get the majority of it taken off, we're gonna go through again with 220 grit, which is what the paint manufacturer we're using says, and then we'll apply our gel coat. So we have the hull of the jet ski sanded down to 220. This did take a little longer than we expected because we did find some more damage, so we had to address that as well as a spot on the other side. But we are sanded down now and everything's roughed up, and now what we're doing is just going and cleaning the entire hull with acetone to get ready for paint. So some of you might be wondering why we have it rigged up to a chain fall like this. So why don't you explain kind of what we're doing here?
Yeah, so we got it up on this jet ski hoist. What we're doing is we did not remove the engine from the hull. So it is not advised to flip the hull upside down with the engine in. It's very stressful on the engine mounts. So this is the way we decided to go.
So we're gonna go ahead and just get this cleaned up, and then we will move on to actually gel coating. All right, so we've got our gel coat, but before we mix that up, we're gonna go ahead and talk about the two different types of gel coat. And as you can see here, we've got gel coat with wax already in it. So what exactly is the difference between the gel coat with and without wax?
So with wax, when you combined it with MEK as the hardener, it allows the wax to go towards the surface, and it creates a barrier to deprive the gel coat of oxygen. The gel coat, in order to harden, needs to be deprived of oxygen. It's different than what you may think. Without wax, it doesn't have that ability, so you usually have to cover it with a plastic sheet, and then it gives it that chance to harden. So in our application, we're going to do with wax for ease of use, and hopefully it turns out pretty good.
Alright, so we are going to mix up our gel coat, and every manufacturer is probably going to be different. But what we're going to be doing is 500 milliliters of gel coat to 7 milliliters of the hardener. And there's two different ways you can apply gel coat. Brushing it on, which basically you're just going to brush it on like you're painting a house, and then you're going to go to the finishing step. Or how we're going to do it, which is going to be using a spray gun since we have so much to cover. Now since we're using a spray gun, we are going to thin this out with acetone, and it's recommended you only do this by 10%. So we're just gonna thin this out and then add our hardener. And the paint gun we're using today is not gonna be an automotive type gun, it's gonna be more for house paint, because as you can see, gel coat is a lot thicker than like an automotive paint or anything like that. So we need something like a house painting gun that's used to shooting latex or anything thicker. So we'll go ahead and finish mixing this up and we'll start shooting. Alright, so our gel coat has cured for about a week now, and you'll kind of notice here it is a little orange peeled, which, like I said, we're using a latex paint sprayer, so it is going to go on, and this is extremely thick. Regardless of if you use a sprayer or a brush, you're either going to probably have some orange peel or some brush strokes. So now what we need to do is sand this out, and the way we're going to do that is by wet sanding with 600 grit. Since we do have a decent amount of orange peel, we're going to use an orbital sander, and it's really important when we do this that we want to kind of stay off these edges with the sander, because that's where you're really going to burn through, since this is a thin point if you start to come with the sander like that. So we're going to get set up and show you how to sand it. So we've gotten all the flat parts knocked down with the orbital, and now what we need to do is hand sand these areas. Since they are contoured, the orbital is gonna really just kind of burn through the peaks and leave other parts untouched. So what we're doing now is we've got a sanding block, and since we're not using an orbital sander, we're starting off with 400 grit, just so we have a little more abrasive to kind of knock it down, and then we'll move on to 600 grit and we'll move to polishing. Alright, so this side of the hull is all wet sanded down. Everything is nice and smooth now. You can see we don't have any more orange peel. So now, just to get rid of that last little bit of haziness from sanding, we're gonna go ahead and buff everything out with a buffing wheel and some compound. Alright, so we've got the whole thing buffed out, and we've put some wax on. It looks pretty good. I think our original repair was somewhere here or here. It's hardly noticeable. Really the only thing left at this point is to put the jet pump back together and get some decals, which are currently on back order. So hope you guys enjoyed this two-part series, and hope it helped you out for some projects at home. Thanks for watching.